In the late 90s, a very popular Japanese game show tortured a man for a year and broadcast it every Sunday night. This isn't like reality TV where it's all fake and scripted, not to ruin Christmas for all the believers out there. This was legitimately torturing another human being for the sake of entertainment.
What?
And it was extremely popular, averaging 17 million viewers every Sunday night that they'd play the clips. That's absolutely massive, even by today's standards. It's more viewers than the last 4 years of the NBA Finals and the World Series, and obviously more than most television shows get. For reference, The Boys season premiere got around 8 million viewers, and according to YouTuber Atrocity Guide, who also covered this story, the most viewed episode of Game of Thrones got around 16 million viewers, so it even beats that. Just an absolutely massive success, but it doesn't stop there. The producers knew there was still a little milk left in those teats and they wanted to suckle. So they actually turned it from just a weekly broadcast into a full-blown live stream where you could log on online and watch him suffer in real time. So whenever you were just feeling particularly quirky, you could hop in there and watch a man be miserably tortured for the better...
Wait, is there any TAWs? Check for TAWs. Sorry, is it check for TAWs? It's a long video, but it's check for TAWs.
Part of a year. Doesn't that sound like fun? What a great way of starting the day. A nice bowl of cereal and milk for breakfast and watching a man's sanity slowly deteriorate as he dances around naked in absolute agony. Wonderful. This is the story of Nasubi. As I briefly mentioned, another YouTube channel named Atrocity Guide made a great video on this topic, but I wanted to go
no TAWs? Is that what you would crush this? I don't know what you're talking about.
Even deeper. So we, Caleb, Chelsea, and I really did a fucking thorough deep dive, spreading the foul cheeks of this situation wide open, going through live streams, all of the broadcast clips, in order to really get a handle on just how vile this whole thing was.
Jesus.
So let's begin. In 1998, a popular Japanese game show named Susanoo Dimpa Shonen held a raffle to find their next contestant for an upcoming show they were working on called A Life of Prizes. Nasubi ended up winning the lottery and was ecstatic. He believed this was going to be a big break for him since he was also an up-and-coming comedian, and he was escorted to a small apartment where he was then instructed to take off all of his clothes in order to participate in the game. The challenge was he would have to survive in this apartment on nothing but his winnings from sweepstakes. They only provided him with water, and he was told that he would not be allowed to leave or communicate with the outside world or have any access to anything that he didn't directly earn through magazine sweepstakes. He was told that he'd need to win 1 million yen, which at the time, 1998, was right around 8,000 US dollars,
What?
through only mail-in magazine sweepstakes in order to complete...
Bro, why do you keep taking me with why do you keep saying you would crush this shit? Why does everybody keep taking me with this shit? What the fuck? Did I not watch something or something? What the fuck are you guys talking about, man?
The challenge and be released from the room. And yes, this does include food. They didn't provide him with any food. The only food he'd have access to is the food that he earns through mail-in sweepstakes. It just feels like there were better odds of a bird carrying $10,000 in its mouth crashing through the apartment window than actually earning 10 grand through mail-in sweepstakes. This shit is like something you would actually hear of like fucked up prison guards at Guantanamo Bay doing as like a joke or something. It's so cruel and brutally difficult. But Nasubi did actually pull it off. It took Nasubi 335 days total to finally make enough money to be released from it. Or at least, so you'd think. This is actually only the tip of the iceberg here, but I just want to give you the story in a nutshell. And I also want to explain the name Nasubi, because that's not actually the contestant's real name. His actual name is Tomoaki Hamatsu. The name Nasubi actually means eggplant, and he got this because the producers used an eggplant to censor his genitals for the broadcast, and they also said that his head resembled the shape of an eggplant. The whole point of the Susanoo Dimpa Shonen broadcast here was to laugh at Nasubi. And people were. 17 million people having an old hoot and a holler, real side-splitting...
Yeah, but why naked though? I don't get it. Because I don't understand why naked. Why not just like let him have like at least underwear?
Comedy, watching a man be legitimately tortured. Nasubi believed that he was being recorded and that the clips were going to be re-edited and broadcast for TV. So he would come in and like update people on what he's doing. Like, I just won this can of cat food. I just won this bicycle, and then he'd like dance around and try and make it entertaining. But he never knew that he was being live streamed the whole time. He was under the impression that it was just going to be moments from the challenge. Not that every excruciating second of this challenge was being broadcast to all of Japan. Extremely fucked situation, and this is just the bare outline of it. What I want to do for this video is actually go through a lot of clips and moments from this live stream and the broadcast, as well as just everything surrounding it, because it is so baffling. It is bizarre that this actually happened. I remember Vsauce did a video on what happens to the mind when you're cut off from stimulation in the outside world for an extended period of time. And unsurprisingly, it is so psychologically damaging to be completely alone and isolated like Nasubi was. And Vsauce only did like a few days. Nasubi did over a year, 15 months total.
なんと脱いで
書いていると
はい
誰かが来た、
はい
宅急便、
やった来た第1号
気分フードケミファさんのファイバーゼリー12個入りでございます。
いただきます。
This was Nasubi's first big win, a fat dubski. He was able to secure 12 pots of fiber jelly. I don't know what the fuck fiber jelly is. I've never heard of it in my life. That sounds like a made-up substance in the movie Snowpiercer, but it was huge for Nasubi because it's his first bit of food since this started, so he was extremely hungry and was able to get some nutrients. This wasn't the first thing he applied for, though. The first sweepstakes he was entering were for clothing items. He wanted to cover up, obviously, because being naked is going to be cold, uncomfortable, especially since it's being filmed. So he had applied for an apron first, but he didn't win.
やった！また何か当たったんだ。
はい
お名前出してもらいたいと思いまして。
あはいわかりましたはい
当選か？
まずラーメン全部で1700円になります。すいません間違えました。
Obviously, since Nasubi was trapped in isolation, cut off from the rest of the world, he cherished every single knock at that door. It was the only bit of...
People said Hasan watched it, which makes me think, hey, yo, I mean, if it was warned or something happened, he would have said something somewhere or something happened.
Human interaction he gets. So he'd get excited, and of course he's expecting to win something, since why else would someone be knocking at the door? So he gets really hyped up, like, hey, finally something came that's going to help me get closer to completing this challenge, or maybe it's food and I'm starving. But that wasn't always the case. Like in these two clips here, sometimes it was just fucking cruel, where a postman knocked on his door just to let him know that he needs to put his name on the mailbox or some shit, and then also someone put the wrong address for a ramen delivery, so he couldn't even have the ramen after smelling it. It was just really sad to see.
米か？
でんでね
米だ。ナスビ、米。
お米5キロです。
Finally, it seems fortune's looking up for Nasubi here. He's able to secure 5 kilograms of rice. But then things get heartbreaking when he realizes he has no way of cooking the rice, because he'd need to win a pot from a sweepstakes in order to use it. So he just has 5 kilograms of rice that he can't.
Can't you soak it in the water and it somehow does something that makes it edible, or is it you have to be absolutely fast to boil?
It's fucking terrible. You know, like it's a treasure that you can't have. So he gets desperate and he starts resorting to eating the rice raw.
Jesus!
生米をかじる。
お願いします。おかゆにでもちゃんとなってください。申し訳ないですけどね。ちょっとこれは失敗じゃないですか？ちょっと待って。ちょっと待ってよこれ。
実験成功。
見て。
Unable to continue eating the rice raw, Nasubi knew he needed to find some way to cook it, so he went full fucking Jimmy Neutron here. he hatched an idea to put the rice into one of the jelly fiber containers, and he put hot water in it, left it out overnight, hoping to make it somewhat cooked. As you can see in the clip, he said, even if it's gruel, just make it into something. It didn't work at all. So he came up with another plan to put it in the fiber jelly container, put it in the hot water, and set it next to the gas burner. So that way it would kind of cook it by proxy. And this worked. It was able to cook the rice, and now he had an efficient way of actually eating that rice that he won.
自転車に乗ってご飯が食える。
Bro, I don't know about this. Side booties? Really, dude? And Sun watched the whole thing? Really,
Slowly but
dude?
surely, Nasubi was chipping away at that million yen goal.
Bro, that's a whole side peach, man.
Winning more and more prizes, such as a bicycle, which on the surface seems pretty useless since he couldn't take it outside, but he turned it into a stationary bike, and I'm sure that was like a good way of stimulating him, because what the fuck else are you gonna do? So he'd eat his watery rice while pedaling on the bicycle, and he started gathering more and more winnings. It started to look like my fucking dorm room from college, just a bicycle.
Well, now think about it, dude. In music videos that everybody are watching, you can see you see full bodies of girls because the strings at the back. It's fine.
Goal and
I don't know
all
why I'm
kinds of
fucking
miscellaneous shit
complaining, I
all over the
suppose.
place.
来ましたね、見事に。いやいや、やってみるもんですね。ほら。
お米の炊き方98年3月版ニューバージョンです。
やっちゃってるよ、これ。もう。トレビアン。
He also upgraded his whole cooking operation by using a pin and a can of sake. He was able to create a pretty efficient cooking apparatus, so he was able to make rice more efficiently. He was even able to cook spaghetti now. So he was really like climbing up the tech tree here by just being an absolute fucking genius. And it's also worth noting some of the more useless things he won, like the bicycle, wasn't entirely worthless because that helped increase the value of his winnings, bringing him closer to that million yen mark. So even if he couldn't get a ton of usage out of it directly, just having it in the room was beneficial because it gets him closer to being done with the challenge.
瞬間が訪れようとしている。しかし、
あ、でもちょっと厳しいね。こんな
小さすぎた。
こんな感じになっちゃうね、ちょっとね。
Now, it's been about 2 months in this
What?
clip here, and according to Atrocity Guide, Nasubi submitted 5,748 sweepstakes entries in the first month. So you can imagine that he's right around that 11,000, 12,000 sweepstake entry ballpark, and he is just now winning his first article of clothing, which are used panties from someone named Hitomi-chan. I want to say I had no idea the used panty market spanned this far back in time. This is 1998. I thought soiled panties, used socks, and bath water were things women started selling within the last decade to take advantage of like internet sales. I had no idea that this was a popular market all the way back into the 90s.
Yeah, but why is it a sweepstake though? I don't get it. Why is it like a raffle? You can win somebody's underwear. I don't.
But anyway, Nasubi wins these panties. It's his only article of clothing he's won so far, but they don't fit, unfortunately.
名前つけてあげないとね、かわいそうだね。そうだ。ナスビのお友達でビーナス。ビーナス
ナスビ、ビーナス連れて初めてのお散歩。
I found this one to be extraordinarily sad, so still around 2 months now. He's had no contact with any human beings aside from the delivery guy just dropping off his winnings. He wins a stuffed seal which he names Binasu and takes him for a walk. It's his only source of companionship. That shit just breaks my heart to see. I'm not gonna lie.
すげえ肉だ。5枚の肉。
貧乏芸人の日常生活においてステーキの4文字なんて想像だにしなかった。
肉をボールペンに刺して炙り始めた。5分後。
美味しそう。
ナスビにとって最高級の食べ物、ステーキを今まさに食べようとする瞬間。
This is his first time winning a direct source of protein. Up until this point, his diet was mainly just the rice and like spaghetti. So he'd be getting trace amounts of protein, but never something like steak. His macros had to be so fucked from this, but he finally gets steak, and he cooks it by using a ballpoint pin to cook it over the direct flame, and he gets to eat it and is super happy about it. I'd also like to highlight something in that note he wrote. He said, in the life of a poor comedian, he's only used the word steak in his imagination. I think this is big because prior to this challenge, Nasubi wasn't a popular comedian in Japan. He wasn't well off or anything like that. This was his big break, which is why he was so excited to be part of this show.
What is a fake
and
cringe?
then
I don't get it.
he gets tortured.
I don't know how
it's
this
so
is fake.
fucking cruel. Like, you can't.
Let's say in a world where it is fake or whatever, right? Dude, the guy can sell his bones like me, but worse somehow and whatnot. Like,
I can't help but feel absolutely horrible for this guy.
電車で電車で電車で電車でガッ
さらに
専用コントローラー付き
運転手はナスビ、車掌はビーナスってな風に。
かな
加熱しないで食べるつもりだ。
うん全然いける美味しい美味しいすべてヴィーナス君のおかげだ
He wins a PlayStation game as well as a special controller for it, but he doesn't have a PlayStation or a TV to play it on. He then also wins raw pork and raw crab and eats it raw because he didn't really have an efficient way of cooking those. And you can see that he talks a lot to the stuffed seal. This is very much like a Castaway situation with Wilson. When you're deprived of human contact for as long as Nasubi has been, you start to try and find ways of being social. Humans are social creatures by nature, which is why it's so torturous to be deprived of that. It's fucking brutal. It's been right around 3 months by this point, and he is not even halfway done to the 1,000,000 yen goal.
掃除機です
3ヶ月ぶりの掃除スタート。
テレビですテレビまあ1は映んねえのかアップするよこれで
そのものとは
歯ブラシと歯磨きのセットです
He's able to win a vacuum cleaner, which enables him to clean the room for the first time in 3 months, and then wins a TV, which would have been great because he'd finally have some source of entertainment, but unfortunately, since there was no antenna, it was useless because it would only play static. And he still didn't have a PlayStation to play the PlayStation game that he won, so the TV was just a source of fucking white noise, I suppose.
No, he's gonna have to get a PlayStation.
And then he finally gets something really, really useful, which is a toothbrush and toothpaste, which lets him brush his teeth for the first time in 3 months.
白衣を着た人現る。
健康チェックに来ただけです。
全く問題ありません。ナスビさんは健康であると認めます。
This is one component that I always see left out for all of the publications or videos that talk about the horror of the Nasubi story. They actually had a doctor come in and check up on him. The staff wanted to make sure that he wasn't on the brink of death or that he hadn't contracted.
Yeah, what about his fucking vitamins and shit? What about a blood test or whatever? You can't even say he's healthy without actually getting a fucking full panel.
Contracted any serious disease or anything. So they had a doctor come in, take his vitals, also did a blood and urine test, or so they claim, and then gave him a clean bill of health. Now, assuming that that's all legitimate and not just, theatrics for the television program, I would still say this doesn't take into account the actual torture this man is enduring. Even if his vitals are okay, he doesn't have a disease or any, big alarming health concerns. This is a man that has been deprived of sunlight, socialization, entertainment, and just basic human needs for 3 months by this point. So even if all of the blood work and all of that is within normal limits, this is a man who is still very much not okay. And to try and make it seem like, no, everything's great, Nasubi's happy, and this is a totally fine by-the-books thing, look, the doctor even says so, is even more scummy and shitty.
嫌なことに気づいてしまった。命の源お米が米袋の底に溜まってる程度になってしまってる。
ついに今日で最後かこれが最後のお米ですはいドッグフードです
すると
Oh shit!
まずい。
ドッグフードでーす
More!
Somehow, the story keeps getting more tragic. The rice that he won on the 20th day was finally running out, and he was unable to win any more during this time, so he resorted to eating dog food. And dog food became the primary thing that he was eating. It was his main diet. So he was surviving off dog food. And another thing that I've seen brought up a few times that I also question is the legitimacy of like what shows up, because it would have been very easy for producers to intercept things that Nasubi had won if they were too helpful. Like, I find it very odd that the only thing Nasubi won in terms of clothing throughout all 15 months was a pair of panties.
True.
That seems so unrealistic. I really think there may have been foul play, and this is just a conspiracy, where the producers intercepted clothes in order to keep him naked for the sake of the comedy of the show. And I think that there could have been a lot of cases like that. There's also nothing that would have stopped them from sending things he didn't win, like dog food. He may have never like entered a dog food suit.
You know, I'm kind of surprised though that the guy didn't make like a belt or like a skirt out of like paper from the magazines or whatnot. Oh, I guess the sweepstakes, but
and they
still
could have sent
though.
it to him in order to further humiliate and torture him for the audience. There's just so much shit in here that is beyond cruel and unusual. Like it
Well, I guess,
blows
like,
my
question
mind that
mark.
this is something that actually happened to a real human being.
神よ我に生きる力
Are
を
you dumb?
与えきり米ですじゃんじゃんじゃん米はだってあ
Luckily, he was able to win
Jesus.
rice 3 months later. He won 10 kilograms of rice about 3-ish months after mainly surviving off dog food, as well as a couple of other foods that he'd win here and there. But dog food for a while was like his primary source of nutrition. And then he finally gets rice again. Now, it's been about 6 months-ish, and he is finally halfway to the goal. In 6 months, he
Chat,
reaches
I
the...
think if I'm wrong, but surprisingly enough, isn't dog food like, yeah, it's not healthy for humans, but it's to have like a balance, like a certain amount like vitamins and proteins. It's like really like bad meats and dog shit like grinded, but it's got a good amount of nutrients, no?
halfway
It's
point.
pretty nutritious.
According to Atrocity Guide, he has submitted 38,000 entries by this point. 38,000 sweepstakes entries in 6 months, and he is only halfway to the goal.
久しぶりだ
この時ナスビは思った。
終わりですか100万いったんですかいってない
What?
意味がわからないんですけど全然うわ車やった動いてる動いてるこれはまあ全部揃ってるというか引っ越しっていうことなんですか
Just when you thought it couldn't get more fucked up. So what happened here is this show was so popular, people eventually found out where Nasubi was being held. So there was paparazzi, reporters, and everything that all were crowding around the space, so the producers moved him to an identical space where no one would know where he was. It was super far away, it was like 5 hours away, I believe, and this whole time, Nasubi thought, oh, I must have won. But it turns out he didn't. They were just moving him to continue the game in a different location. It looks like actual kidnapping, and to a certain extent it is. The entire time, Nasubi is kind of delirious. He hasn't talked to people in a long time. He even says his mind is clouded with anxiety, and he's saying things that don't make any sense. He's unable to really talk to people, or talk around people in general. He's like completely lost that ability due to right around 6 months in total isolation.
しかしこの企画が放送されていることを知らないナスビにプロデューサーは
なんか演技担ぎじゃあ私のためってことですねこれは
身に余る光栄です
The team told Nasubi that he was moved to a new location for renewed luck, so better fortune at a new spot, because they didn't want to tell him the real reason that they were relocating him.
Thank you,
so
man.
they came up with
So
that.
nice.
And I'm pretty sure Nasubi doesn't believe them because he kind of laughs about it, saying, oh, so it's for my own benefit. I think he's very well aware now that this is a pretty fucking evil team of producers here, and whatever reason they had for moving him probably wasn't for his own benefit.
格やなこれは椅子と机が当たったってことなのかなこれ社長気分っつうのかね
当選第1号国用のパーソナルデスク&チェア
操作しづらいんですよね、爪が邪魔でね。
うわ、
爪がこんなになっちゃってるからね。
His first win in the new location actually is a fucking fat one. He gets a new desk, a new chair. They're both relatively expensive too, so it's a great victory for him. And he shows his nails. The nail growth is outrageous. He hasn't been able to trim them in about 6 months now. Like, he is genuinely a prisoner here, and it shows.
With this room switch, producers decided to offer a live web stream alternative, causing them to digitally follow Nasubi around with a joystick in order to censor his genitalia. As you can see, the quality of the live stream is primitive, but keep in mind this is in the late 90s.
I couldn't actually find a high quality clip showing how they censored the live stream or did the live broadcast, so this comes from Atrocity Guide as well. What they did is the producers had a whole team that was dedicated to following Nasubi around with a joystick like they were playing a fucking arcade game with a sensor to keep his dick and balls off the screen. And they live streamed him. They wanted to offer a real-time alternative instead of just doing like the weekly Nasubi update with clips. They wanted 24/7 Nasubi
I'm loving this,
coverage
guys.
for anyone.
It's so outrageous. It's like, dude. Oh, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm in an office and I'm like the dick stick mover. Like, dude. I can explain it to somebody.
That wanted to go watch. So this was pretty innovative for its time. I think it's definitely one of the first like actual around-the-clock live streams that ever actually aired. It's pretty impressive.
ウィダーインゼリーが当たってかれこれ2週間当選がない
ここまでね、当たんないっつうのもなかなか久しぶりの出来事でね。
車で移動。着いたところは
ちょっといいよ。いいっすか。
ナスビのあまりの運のなさに見かねたスタッフは当選運の上昇を願い2度目の引っ越しを決めたのだった。
So Nasubi initially had a good string of luck at the new location. I believe, according to Atrocity Guide, he had done 17,000 entries and won decent stuff, but then hit a really bad cold streak, even ran out of food at one point, so the producers did move him again to another location to help him out in winning more prizes, I suppose, and it worked, because he did win more prizes.
ビデオデッキを頭にぶつけ当選の舞。
ほんと10ヶ月ぶりにね、トイレットペーパーに触ったよ、本当に。
He finally wins food again and really celebrates getting some potato chips, and he also gets a VHS player, which will be nice to go with the TV, assuming he ever wins a VHS tape to play it. But I think the most important thing he wins here is toilet paper. This is the first time he's had toilet paper in his entire stay. 10 months so far. And to celebrate...
Now I feel like I'm in love with his fucking thought of there's like a big conspiracy or whatever. Because he wins like a game and a TV, but no console ever of anything. And then he wins a VHS and a TV, but never any tapes. No shot, dude. Absolutely. I'm sure there was a bunch of fucking sweepstakes for fucking movies and VHS at the time. There's probably thousands of them.
Tries to take a shit just out of frame, but was unable to.
Because if you're watching this all day.
An unsuccessful mission there, but at least he finally has toilet paper.
Okay, well.
それは8ヶ月前のこと。
電車でコントローラー好き。
6ヶ月前。
おー、来たよ。とりあえずまずや。電車で Go!
Now this is by far the meatiest win he's gotten so far.
That's wicked insane.
That's pretty expensive, especially during this time period, and it also enables him to have real entertainment for the first time in 10 months. This is like a moment that's straight out of like Civilization, where you climb up the tech tree slowly but surely. 8 months prior to this, he won a PlayStation 1 game, Dinshid to Go, which also had the special controller to go with it. Couldn't play it, obviously, at the time. 6 months ago, he won a TV. So he had a PlayStation game, a controller, a TV, but no console. He finally got that last missing piece of the puzzle, the console, and is able to play PlayStation games now. Well, the single PlayStation game he's won. And what's really interesting about this is
actually,
this is his first
streamer.
piece of actual entertainment he's had since being fucking imprisoned here. But Also, and this was pointed out by Caleb, this would make him the world's first video game live streamer because this is all being live streamed. All of this is a live broadcast, and he spent 4 straight days playing his PlayStation. So for 4 straight days, he was being streamed playing a game. This man was the patient zero of streaming. He walked so Twitch could run.
一心不乱で電車で GO に熱中するナスビ。電車で GO 3日目に突入。
プレステでございます。
What?
He played so much Dinsha de Go that he had to ban himself from playing it further so he could focus on entering into more sweepstakes and getting closer to freedom. So he stopped playing the game, went back to writing entries, and he was able to do it. He pulled off the last remaining prizes he needed to reach that million
No
yen
shot.
mark.
一歩間違えてダイヤにしてくれてれば。
今回当たったタイヤが84,000円。
Guys, I just had another fucking dude. How do you call that? Dude, you know, like a deja vu. Every time I move, I have this deja vu that I'm playing a video. I look over the chat. I look at the wall behind me. Then I think, oh, then I think of adept last time, and then I'm like, oh wow, is this deja vu? It's this same loop. It's like the 4th or 5th time. Do you guys remember the time I told you guys about this? I just had it again. I'm not kidding.
つまり現
I
在の総
just
額
had
は
it again.
96万
That's
9,114円。
The tires put him extremely close to completing the challenge. He was right at the finish line here, so close he could throw the Dinsha de Go disc right over the finish line. Only a couple more wins would secure this, and he was able to pull it off. The final item he won that put him over the million yen threshold was a bag of rice. But Nasubi didn't know he won. It had been 335 straight days of constant, non-stop, relentless filling out of sweepstakes in order to win these prizes. 335 days of torture, and Nasubi had finally reached the finish line, but didn't know it.
ゴールを祝いクラッカーで祝福。
100万になったってことですか？11ヶ月と1日前に脱がされた私の服ですね。
Per usual, the producers come in like a group of burglars during the night and start popping party poppers in his face, which scares the shit out of him
Without saying
and
anything.
really confuses him. They eventually explain that he did win, he made 1,000,000 yen, and they give him his clothes back. It's been 11 months and 1 day, and this is the first time Nasubi's putting clothes on in that entire time frame. So when he puts them on, he says that it's uncomfortable and itchy, but he's very, very, very happy to be done with the contest and glad that he's completed it. But that's not where this story ends.
食べる骨付きカルビにナスビ悶絶。
The producers took Nasubi to Korea, telling him it was a celebration for completing the game,
Oh, no.
and for all of his hard work. So they went to an amusement park. He ate a lot of great food. He had a wonderful, incredible time. And then things got real fucked up.
そこは
What?
脱いで。人は韓国の憲章だけで生きていけるか。
ナスビ大ショック。
Nasubi was making them far too much money. The producers weren't done suckling from this cash cow's teat, so they trapped Nasubi in Korea. The goal this time wasn't 1,000,000 yen. This time he was going to have to enter sweepstakes in Korea, which he didn't speak Korean, so he had to use a Korean to...
Wait. Is that even legal though? Is he allowed to stay more than half a year or whatever amount of time in a foreign country without an actual visa? What the fuck?
Japanese dictionary to translate.
That's
His goal
not
was
even
to
legal.
enter the sweepstakes, win prizes enough to afford a plane ticket from Korea to Japan. That was the objective. He was stripped naked yet again and forced to endure the same torture that he had already endured for 335 days prior. I would like to make a mention here. There is a moment where the producer says, if you don't want to do this, just say so. To which Nasubi responds, I'll do it. So I don't think they had ever forced him against his will to complete these challenges, but he was pretty much promised fame after doing these things. So in the pursuit of Nasubi's big dreams, he allowed himself to be tortured mercilessly.
But how do you even convert that sort of fame into anything during those times when you get out of it? When you spend the whole days, you can't even go home and benefit or grow from that fame. You're stuck in a room, literally. That doesn't make any sense.
15 months.
こんなにいっぱいということは商品総額が 47,800 円ということは
What do you guys says you? What do you guys says you? Every time I turn off the stream, are you dumb? Are you dumb? Are you fucking dumb? Like, what are we fucking doing? You dumb motherfucker? Stop one more fucking time. Say it again!
ゴール 46,900 円突破検証生活 in Korea.
This time around, however, Nasubi went fucking plus ultra, straight up turbo mode. He had become a master at this shit. So he was actually able to complete this challenge in just about 2 months, which made the producers very upset because he didn't suffer long enough. So they increased the challenge duration. They moved the goalpost. Instead of just getting a one-way ticket from Korea to Japan in economy class, they required him to get an additional 9,000 yen in prize winnings to upgrade that ticket to business class.
エコノミークラスという一番安い料金
What?
こんなに頑張ったのにエコノミークラスとはあんまりだそこでビジネスクラスにランクアップ点まであと 9,500 円頑張れナスビ
Yeah, more scummy, evil shit from the producers here. They never even told him he initially completed the goal here. They just let him keep writing postcards until he'd gather another 9,000 yen. They didn't want him to win quickly. They didn't really want him to win at all because the longer he struggles and suffers, the more money they were making. So they let him just keep going and tried to spin it as a positive thing. Like, look at how hard Nasubi's working. We're not going to let him fly in economy class. So the new goal is business class because it's what Nasubi would want. Just genuinely fucked shit.
頑張ったってこんなお茶2袋お茶よ
4,000 円ということは商品総額は 61,800 円ということファーストクラスにランクアップということはゴールの金額もランクアップ
Nasubi easily gathered the remaining 9,500 yen after winning some expensive tea leaves, so he was absolutely slapping the producers' bottoms. Like, he was
What's the rank up after first class? Are they gonna make him buy a whole fucking chopper or a fucking plane to get out of it? Dude.
going hog wild right now. So again, they increased the goal without ever telling him. Now, business class wasn't good enough. Now it was going to have to be a first class ticket, which was an additional 20,000 yen, I believe. Which, again, was pretty quick for Nasubi to
Buy
gather.
the plane,
He won a live
buy a
octopus,
jet,
a big picture
buy
frame, and
a
was able to
fucking
gather enough money
commercial
for prizes
airline,
pretty quickly.
buy an airport, buy the neighborhood, buy the city, motherfucker, buy the fucking country, motherfucker, buy the whole planet, dude. Jesus, Jeff Bezos challenge for this bitch.
To get that final rank
Christ,
up to
man.
first class passenger. So then he finally gets the ticket from Korea to Japan in first class, and it's over.
そしてプロデューサーに連れられたナスビ登場もちろんアイマスクにヘッドホンナスビは驚くべき行動に出る
別にまだかかる
なんと脱ぎ始めた
Oh, he's naked. Hello? Who are these degenerates?
But the story wouldn't be complete without one more final act of cruelty towards Nasubi. They blindfold him, put noise-canceling headphones on him, disorient him, and drag him on stage into a mock room designed to look like the rooms that he'd been staying in for the last 15 months. So out of pure instinct, he gets completely nude again. It's the only life he knows, so without ever being told to take his clothes off, he does it anyway. and then the walls break away, revealing a live studio audience laughing at him and congratulating him for completing the show. Nasubi is understandably confused because for 15 months he has been psychologically and physically tortured. So he doesn't understand what's happening, he doesn't get it, and is shocked, scared, and all around bewildered. It's just one more sick fucking joke from the producers. Millions of people watching the finale, as well as thousands in person watching him, completely naked and completely having no idea what's going on or why. The Life of Prizes was finally complete, and the entire show, Susanoo Denpa Shonen, was cancelled pretty shortly after. It didn't have like a super long run after this. But the toll that this experience took on Nasubi's life obviously didn't stop with the finale. He reported being uncomfortable in clothes for about 6 months afterwards, and his social skills had obviously deteriorated. He said he was a lot more shy and not really able to be a comedian super well anymore because obviously he had been cut off for so long from people. He just kind of lost the ability to carry on conversations efficiently and overall just became a lot more reserved as a result of this. He did, however, sell his diary, the Nasubi Life of Prizes diary, like his journal, and that was a bestseller. That was a massive success. But he himself never achieved that level of fame that he was kind of promised with a show like this. He did have certain roles in other productions, and some of them pretty sizable roles in other productions, but never a massive success in Japan, even though this is like the most successful live stream in Japan's history. So just an overall extremely sad and cruel story. The main producer behind this show has gone on record and said he doesn't regret anything. He said his goal is to make miracles on film, and with Nasubi, he accomplished that goal. He did apologize to
Discordant.
Nasubi, and Nasubi confirms that the producer did apologize to him, but the apology only does fuck all. Like, that doesn't make up for 15 months of lost human contact and health. You know, like that's a nothing burger. But I guess at least he apologized, even though he made millions of dollars off the back of Nasubi's suffering. But anyway, I wanted to share this story because I find it to be one of the most interesting ones when it comes to like live broadcast television as well as live streaming. This is one of the first live streams, and it was fucking bizarre. Extremely fucked up story. And yeah, I just wanted to share that with all of you. Thank you to Caleb and Chelsea for compiling a bunch of clips here, so that way we can tell the story as best as possible. And yeah, that's about it.
That's kind of insane, though. Jeez, that was mildly entertaining and kind of depressing, to be honest.
Phrases